was titled Faster, Sustainable and Inclusive Growth. To achieve this, we have to fully realize that when disasters strike, it's the poorest of the poor who suffer the most, and therefore DRR assumes paramount importance. Planning for inclusive growth must factor in disaster risk reduction. There will be huge amounts of investments by the public and the private sectors during the next 5 years. The total outlay for all the central ministries in the 12th plan period is projected at rupees 43,33,739 crores. Disaster risk reduction must be mainstreamed appropriately. The UN ISDR was established at the end of the International Decade for Natural Disaster Reduction in 1999. After the Hugo Framework of Action was adopted in 2005, the UN ISDR called upon the nations to establish national platforms to ensure that disaster risk reduction is a national and a local priority, and issued guidelines in 2007. Disaster risk reduction is a cross-cutting development issue. The process of DRR is a complex one, consisting of political, technical, participatory, and resource mobilization components. Therefore, DRR requires collective wisdom and efforts from national policy and decision makers, from various sectors of the government, representatives of the civil society, academic institutions, the private sector, and last but not the least, the media. The NPDRR has been constituted with the Home Minister as Chairman, the Vice Chairman of the NDMA, and the MO's Home as Vice Chairman, 15 Cabinet Ministers and Deputy Chairman Planning Commission representing the Government of India, Ministers from the states and union territories responsible for disaster management, representatives of the local self-government, members of Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha, some important central government officials, heads of national institutions, representatives from the industry, media, civil society organizations, and international representatives from the UN system, the World Bank, and the ADB as members, and the Secretary Border Management as its convener. I would like to particularly highlight India's vulnerability to earthquakes, which can occur without an early warning and can be extremely devastating. It's not the earthquake that killed the people, it's the buildings that they live in. Our local bodies have to gear up to ensure compliance to building codes and bylaws. Simultaneously, people must be educated about the grave danger of unsafe buildings. The media, too, has an important role in this. 2 plenary sessions and 6 parallel sessions covering various important subjects have been planned for today and tomorrow. The first session of the NPDRR will be extremely important to set a roadmap for achieving the objectives that we have set for ourselves. I am once again thankful to you, Sir Prime Minister, for taking time off from your busy schedule to be with us today to inaugurate the first session. Thank you very much. Jai Hind.
Thank you, Shri M. Shashidhar Reddy, for your welcome address. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to now invite Honorable Union Home Minister Shri Sushil Kumar Shinde, and I request him to kindly address us.
Honorable Prime Minister Dr. Manmohan Singh Ji, my colleague Minister of State in Home Department M. Ramchandran Ji, the Vice Chairman Mr. Shashidhar Reddy Ji, the ministers from the states, secretaries of all the departments, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. I am grateful for the presence of Honorable Prime Minister as our guest to the first session of the National Platform for the Disaster Risks Reduction. I am happy to see the gathering of the stakeholders from the central and state governments, the international organizations, civil society organizations, academic institutions, and members of the corporate sector. This symbolizes the commitment of all towards effective disaster management and substantive disaster risk reduction in the country. We have witnessed several disasters like the super cyclone in Odisha in 1999, the earthquake in Kutch in 2001, Jammu and Kashmir in 2005, and Sikkim in 2011, the tsunami in 2004, devastating Kosi floods in 2008, Andhra and Karnataka floods in 2009, the yearly recurring floods in Assam, Odisha, Uttar Pradesh and Bihar, lake outbursts in 2010, and increased instances of urban flooding like the one seen in Mumbai in 2005. The fire incidents, including the Kolkata hospital fire in 2011, such disasters, they cause a lot of pain, grief and misery. It is again the women, children and aged and the physically challenged who requires more support in the aftermath of such unfortunate events. The rapid growth of population, unplanned urbanization, unsafe building practices and increasingly erratic weather patterns have all compounded the frequency and intensity of disasters. While the state government are the first responders, the Ministry of Home Affairs is the nodal ministry responsible for coordination of disaster management in India. Since early 2000, the government has been focusing on developing capacities in the country for preparedness, prevention and mitigation, along with developing a capacity for response. The institutional structure have been put in place with the enactment of the Disaster Management Act in 2005 and creation of National Disaster Management Authority. The government came out with Disaster Management Policy in 2009. The schemes for earthquake mitigation, school safety, cyclone mitigation, capacity building, strengthening of fire and emergency services and revamping of civil defense are being implemented in the country with the objective of disaster risk reduction. We have already implemented a number of reconstruction and recovery programs. These programs have been implemented for our people at large and have addressed the issues of reconstructing, repairing and strengthening traditional houses in rural and urban areas. We have learnt a lot from these programs. These lessons need not be applied for prevention and mitigation, considering the loss of lives and scale of damages which have occurred in the past. It has become essential to formulate a concrete strategies to reduce the vulnerability and the losses arising from a possible disaster that can occur in urban, semi-urban and rural areas. The solution lies in having an informed community and to bring in addition and the strict enforcement of hazard-resistant design techniques for new construction. We need to develop a financial and insurance solution in place to enable the communities to recover from the impact of disasters. We need to take rapid strides in the area of application of science and technology, early warning systems and capacity development as well. The several organizations, government as well as the non-governmental, have been involved in the supporting the efforts of disaster risk reduction during the last few decades. However, it is felt that the knowledge and experiences of disaster practitioners remain in a limited domain. There is a need to disseminate these lessons among the larger disaster management community. The Government of India, by constituting a national platform, has made a conscious effort towards knowledge and experience sharing on a common platform so as to create a versatile interface among policymakers in the government and disaster managers at all administrative levels. While we have made substantial progress in creating the required institutions and the legal structure, we need to continue concentrated efforts in three broad areas. The first is in pulling in all the databases by using latest technology in order to enable a real-time decision support system at the first responder level. The second is in the ensuring the necessary techno-legal regime in seismic zone 4 and zone 5 areas so that unsafe buildings are scrutinized properly from the structural safety point of view. The third is in the bringing in the firm mechanism to take care of a long-term reconstruction in the aftermath of disasters. I am hopeful that the platform will provide an excellent opportunity for experts and practitioners who are working on various aspects of disaster risk management reduction and the recovery to deliberate on the best practices, critical issues, support new initiatives, and improve our understanding of the subject through exchange of knowledge and ideas. We have to take measures to ensure that the disaster risk reduction actually becomes an integral part of our planning process. We need to take concentrated measures to use latest technology to provide timely and useful information at the community level. We have to realize that the lack of rupees spent in prevention of disasters in the worth 10 lakh rupees that would be needed after a disaster. Once again, I urge all the stakeholders to discuss and work together for reducing disaster risks to make India a safe country. I wish success in your deliberation and I look forward to receiving your suggestions. And I am really thankful to Prime Minister of India that he accepted the invitation to come here and talk to you to inaugurate this session. Thank you. Jai Hind.
Thank you, Honorable Minister Shri Sushil Kumar Shinde, for your kind address. Ladies and gentlemen, it is our honor and pleasure to have with us Dr. Manmohan Singh, Honorable Prime Minister of India, and also the Chairman of the National Disaster Management Authority. May I now request him to kindly deliver his inaugural address.
My esteemed friend and cabinet colleague, Shri Sushil Kumar Shinde, Minister of Home Affairs, Shri M. Shashidhar Reddy, Vice Chairman of the NDMA, Shri Malapalli Ramchandran, Minister of State for Home Affairs, Ministers from the state governments, delegates, ladies and gentlemen. I am very happy to be with you today. I compliment the Home Minister and his team for their initiative in setting up the National Platform for Disaster Risk Management for providing multi-stakeholder coordinated leadership in the very important area of disaster risk reduction. This is in fulfillment of our commitment to the United Nations International Strategy for Disaster Reduction. We are now one of the 80 countries which have a national platform. I am confident